So let us start our discussion where we will be discussing about risk responses and questions on risk responses. So first, what are the processes in risk management? As you can see, there are 7 processes, but we are not covering other 6 processes. We are covering this one. Okay, so we'll learn about planning the risk responses, how to identify the situation, how to understand the situation, and take the necessary response, which would help us prepare for the risk that our team have identified in the project. Right? So in terms of responses, one of the responses is to avoid. If you have a high priority risk, which means there's a high chance that this risk might happen. And if it happens, it will also create a high impact. Okay, the chance is also high, impact will also be high. Why not just avoid it? Okay, so this would mean that we are changing the plan and we are incorporating something else which will avoid the event itself so that the risk won't happen. For example, if you are sending material from your factory to site, okay, and the risk is that the material might get damaged. If that's the risk, and you are sending the material in monsoon season, rainy season, and through mountain road, and the chances of landslide also increases. So there's a high probability that your material might get damaged due to landslide. And if that happens, you will lose entire material. So the impact is also going to be huge. So now you know that this event, if it happens, the chances are very, very high that the risk will happen. The impact that it will create will also be very, very high. So you will sit with your team and you will try to avoid that risk. You will say, let us pick up another route. It could be longer route, but still we will be able to save our material. Or you would say, let us send it by air. It will be more costlier, or it will be costlier, but still you will be able to avoid that risk of losing the entire material. So you will take that hit on your cost because you are trying to avoid a high impact risk. Right? That is called avoid. Avoiding the event itself by changing the plan is a response called avoid. The second response is transfer. Suppose you are not able to avoid it. Right? Not everything is very easy, right? Maybe we don't have money in the project to send it by air. Maybe we don't have time to send it through a different route. Okay, or maybe there's no other route itself. Right? In such cases, what we'll have to do is we'll have to understand what can we do in this kind of scenario. So another response that can be tried is called transfer. You will transfer your risk onto somebody else. Right? Which means when I'm sending the material from factory to site, I would try to buy an insurance so that my risk is transferred to the insurance company. Why would insurance company take that risk on their head? Because we are paying some premium. That is one thing. And the similar premium is paid by multiple other organizations to the insurance company. Hence, the insurance company would say, okay, out of 100 companies whose risk we are taking on our head, maybe 10 companies will face that actual risk. 90 companies are paying me only because I'm taking the risk for them. Right? So insurance company will also take that risk on their head. This is called transferring of the risk. So if you're not able to avoid by changing the plan, you will buy insurance premium. You will have an arrangement with someone who is ready to take your risk by paying some premium. That is your second response that you can take for any risk. The third response is to mitigate. Suppose you're not able to avoid and nobody is ready to take your risk also. What can you do? The best that you can do is to try to reduce the probability of that risk happening. Okay, if I don't have money, let's say, for example, to even pay the insurance, because insurance is also very costly. And I cannot also change the plan because sending through a different route is not possible. Sending through air is not possible because I am already over budget. So what will I do in this case? In that scenario, I will try to improve the packaging of my material. I'll try to discuss with the driver and ask them to stop whenever they feel that there might be a landslide. Okay, so all these actions that I'm trying to do, I may be testing more, I will be packaging more, I will ensuring that the packaging, the storage of material in the vehicle is also proper. So what am I doing here? I'm trying to reduce the probability of the risk happening, and I'm trying to reduce the impact of the risk happening. This is what is called mitigating the risk. Right? That is our third response. The fourth response is to escalate. Suppose logistics is taken care by the separate logistics team, which means you as a project manager don't have the authority, or it is not your responsibility to look after the logistics. What will you do? You will escalate it to the logistics manager. That is your fourth response. The fifth response is accept. Suppose you are not sending in the monsoon season. Suppose you are not sending through mountain road. Suppose that the logistics that has been done in the last 100 projects, never ever the material got damaged, which means the risk is a low priority risk. It might or might not happen. Even if it happens, you anticipate that you will not lose the entire material, maybe a little bit here and there. So it becomes your low priority risk. For low priority risks, you accept the risk, which means accepting means you are not planning any response. You are not trying to figure out changing the plan, trying to buy an insurance. You're not doing anything about it. You have just identified it in the risk register and you said, okay, we accept this risk because it is a low priority risk. I don't need to put in time and effort in thinking about the responses. I have just accepted it. Okay, but just accepting it will not help. We'll have to keep something in a reserve so that if this low priority risk, if at all it happens, okay, we'll be able to use that money from that reserve and work on this risk. Okay, so there may be, let's say, for example, 100 low priority risks in your project. Okay, chances are only 1% that it will happen. So out of 100 risks, only one risk will happen. And even if it happens, maybe $1,000 would be the impact. So you keep some money out without doing any analysis on this risk. You say, okay, this is the risk, let me accept it. Okay, these are all your low priority risk. Let's say, for example, your workers, factory workers are working in factory. There is a chance that there might be a safety incident. Okay, for that, organization is already taking care of it by doing safety training, safety things. But in your project, you realize that there is safety training, there is a safety officer by the organization. Hence, any safety hazard in my project is a very low priority thing. It might or might not happen. Okay, there's hardly 1%, 0.5% chance that it might happen. If such is the case, if at all, let's say, for example, somebody twists their ankle, somebody falls while walking, right? Chances are very less that it will happen. Okay, and if you try to build a response for that, then you will have to spend a lot of time thinking about how to avoid that fall or twisting of ankle. But the impact is not that huge. If somebody falls, they'll get up and they'll start working. Right? If they twist their ankle, maybe they would need some ointment and they'll start working. It's not huge impact. So you say that, okay, for these cases, let us keep some contingency reserve out and let us accept it. Let us not plan anything about it. Just keeping the contingency reserve out. That is your risk response. So there are 5 responses. Okay. When your risk is a high priority risk, try to avoid it by changing the plan. If your risk is high priority and you cannot avoid it, try to transfer it to some third party. Okay, pay the premium of transferring, because without paying, nobody will take your risk on their head. If it is high priority, you cannot avoid, you cannot transfer. If it is high priority or medium priority, for majority of risks, okay, where we cannot avoid the plan, where we cannot transfer, what we try to do is we try to mitigate, trying to reduce the probability of occurrence so that the risk doesn't happen itself. You cannot change the plan, but you add extra resources, you do extra testing, you improve something in the process, okay, so that the probability of occurrence goes down. The impact of the risk would go down. That is called mitigate. Then low priority risks, which are very less chance that it will happen, and even if it happens, it will create very low impact. For those risks, we'll not plan anything. We'll just accept it and we'll keep contingency reserve for all such accepted risks as together. Okay, we'll put some money, whatever from our understanding from previous project understanding, we'll just keep that money out. It will be a part of our budget. You can use it as a project manager, but you have accepted these risks. Then if it is beyond your authority, beyond the project manager's authority, then we need to escalate. Right? Because it is beyond my authority, I cannot do anything about it. So I must escalate. So we escalate for that. Okay? That's the summary of the risk responses that you can take in project. Let us look at questions that we might see in the exam. Okay, go through the question, put the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. All right, let's discuss this. And those who are trying, please keep trying. Please put your answer in the chat box. An automobile manufacturing company has purchased a new equipment which will be used to manufacture chassis of a new model of passenger cars in their target market. The tests conducted have shown that the equipment is running fine. So test is successful. However, the quality team member updated the risk register with a risk of equipment failure while using it in the project. Okay, so what's the scenario? Scenario is that an equipment has been purchased by a company and they are planning to use it. Testing was fine. Everything is running and the equipment is running fine. But the quality team feels, okay, that there is a risk that it might fail while in the operation. Okay, which of the following would be the most appropriate response for this risk? Transfer. Okay, what will happen and how do we transfer this risk? The risk is that equipment might fail. Okay, so how do we transfer this? Not sure. Okay, so just park it. Except, see, if the equipment fails, you will not be able to launch your new model of passenger car, the project that you are doing. Okay, so this is not a low priority risk. So there's no reason why you would accept it. You have to plan some response for it. Okay, then mitigate. Mitigate means reducing the probability. So doing something so that the probability of equipment failure reduces. Looks like a good choice. We'll keep it. Okay, then escalate. There's no reason why we should escalate. I'm the project manager. I have a team. I have a quality team. We will sit together. We'll try to discuss what we can do, right? Instead of escalating. So we can eliminate this. Now the question is transfer or mitigate. See, transfer is a response where you are transferring it on somebody else. There must be some information in the question suggesting that. Okay. If it is not suggesting that, we don't know whether we will be able to transfer it to somebody else or not. And as it is, equipment failure, how would we transfer this risk on somebody else? Right? We may get some money out of it. We may have, let's say, for example, an insurance. Okay. We may get some money out of the equipment failure, but what about the time? Okay. So there's no clarity on transfer, but we have clarity on mitigate. Okay. Why do we have clarity on mitigate? Because mitigate is applicable for all the risks. You can always try to reduce the probability of occurrence. Okay. So in this case, comparing transfer to mitigate, mitigate looks like a better choice. Okay. So whenever you are confused between two options and you are not clear on one of the options, you select that one, which one is more clear. Right. So that is one way of looking at the exam questions. Okay. But this is not how you are going to see in the exam. You may, I mean, there's a chance, there's no guarantee on what you are going to see in the exam, but you may say this, but actually the way you are going to see this is like this. Scenario would still be the same, and they would not mention the terms, the response terms, but they would explain it. Okay, and when they explain it, it becomes easier. Trying to remember the concept is more difficult than trying to look at the scenario, look at the action, look at the decision, and then taking action. It is easier, but if you understand those responses, it will even be better for you. Right? So what you're going to see in the exam is something like this. Scenario is same. They have changed the options, and these mean nothing but the same thing that we saw in the previous slide. Right? So they would explain transfer, purchasing an insurance to protect from the impact, accepting the risk, mitigate, conducting regular maintenance, inspection, repairs so that we can reduce the likelihood. How crystal clear has it become? Just because they have explained it. Right? So in your exam, you will see that they would be explaining it. Chances are less that you will see the direct terms. Okay, but if you see it, you should be able to find out. It becomes difficult to find, as we just saw, but it becomes easier when they explain it. Right, so that is about question number 1. Any question, anyone, before we move to question number 2? All right, if there are no questions, let's move ahead. Again, go through the question and put the answer in the chat. All right, so let's discuss this. The weather department in the city has informed of significant change in temperature and humidity as the city moves from summer to rainy season in coming days. The project manager is concerned that the team members might fall sick, resulting in their absence. So what's happening? Weather department has informed about some significant change in temperature and humidity. And the project manager is concerned the team members might fall sick. So there's a risk that they might fall sick, and the impact will be that they are absent. That is the information given. Another information that is given is the project is already over budget. This is one condition given to us, and the absence of team members will also delay the project. So it is already over budget. If they become absent, then it will further delay the project. So we are not doing good in terms of cost. We'll start doing bad in terms of schedule also. So what should the project manager do to ensure the project continuity? Let us see. Accept that risk may occur and keep a contingency reserve. Okay, again, we don't know whether it is a low priority. Okay, it is, chances are more that it will happen because they have explained and given some information about it, that there's a significant change in temperature and humidity. So it is not a low priority risk that we're talking about. The team members might fall sick. So we have some information that suggests it is not a low priority risk. Okay, so A can be eliminated. B, hire additional team members as a backup plan. Should we do that? Yes. If my team is falling sick, I must do that. But there's one condition, there's one constraint, one limitation that is stopping me from doing that. The project is already over budget. Okay, hence this is also eliminated. I don't have money for that. C, call for a group discussion on health and fitness awareness. Looks like a good choice. Okay, I don't have money, but at least what I can do is I can call team members and tell them, look, this is what is happening. Please stay fit. Please eat nice. Please stay home. Please don't roam around here and there. Keep yourself fit. And we can have a discussion around that. Okay, maybe somebody is a fitness freak who can help my team, other team members. And so what we can do, we can bring team members together and discuss about staying fit in this changing circumstances because of that risk. It looks like a good choice. Purchase insurance coverage to protect against the risk. It is also a good choice, but we don't have money for that, right? Because we are already over budget. So when we are over budget and if we have to select between insurance coverage and group discussion, we will select this because we don't have money for buying insurance, right? I could see all of you were correct in this, so no doubt. Uh, any doubts in discussion or anything that you want to discuss about this question? If not, then what is this response that we have taken? Which response is this out of the 5 responses that we discussed? Anyone? What would this response be called? Avoid, accept, transfer, mitigate, or escalate?
I would say mitigate, Amit.
Mitigate. I can see avoid on the chat box. Then I say I can see mitigate also. Is it avoid or is it mitigate? Anybody would like to explain their answer, please? Why they are thinking it is mitigate or avoid? Just so I can understand the thought process behind it. What is avoid? Yeah, please go ahead.
It's a mitigate, I think, because if it would have been avoid, then we have done nothing for that.
So you're saying that we have done nothing to avoid that risk.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
We are only having a group discussion. We have not changed the plan. We are only having a discussion about it. Okay, we have done nothing to avoid the risk. While will it be a mitigation? Probably, right? If I have a discussion, if I discuss about health and fitness, the chances improve. The team members will become aware and they will not fall sick. So what am I doing? I'm reducing the probability of the risk occurrence. I'm not avoiding it. Right? Just a discussion will not avoid the risk, but it will reduce the probability of it occurring. That's what I can see in the chat box also, that it will reduce the risk. It is not avoiding, right? So it is not avoiding, it is mitigate.
Even in that case, we could not have group discussion also. We didn't have group discussion also.
Right. We would have avoided the risk itself. So we would not have needed the group discussion either. Right? We would have done something else. We would have said, okay, take leave, change the plan, or work from home, don't travel. Something of that sort. We would have changed the plan. Avoid means changing the plan and avoiding the risk altogether. Mitigate means reducing the probability of the risk occurrence. Doing something, discussion, training, testing, adding resources. These are all trying to reduce the risk. You cannot avoid it completely. Yes, Kirti, go ahead. You raised hands, please.
Yeah, Amit, in this case, we are trying to avoid people falling sick, and that's the reason. Means I thought avoiding is the
Understood.
response.
That's exactly why I wanted a response from everyone. Why are you thinking about? See, we are trying to avoid. Okay, but this action will not avoid it. Okay, it will prevent, it will reduce the probability. It can do a lot of things, but just a group discussion will not avoid your risk. Okay, so what we are trying to do here is not to avoid the risk altogether, but we are trying to reduce the probability of occurrence. Right? We are not changing the plan. We are just adding some more discussion so that we become more aware about health and fitness and the changing circumstances around us. And the chance that people will fall sick will reduce. Okay, so you are discussion will not help you avoid the risk. It will only reduce the probability of occurring.
So, Amit, for my understanding, is it right to say that avoid means changing the route and mitigate means reducing the impact?
Yes, reducing the probability.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Let's move to the next question. All right, so let's discuss this. A project manager is creating project schedule for a research and development project. A similar project was initiated earlier in the year, but was closed as the project was not delivering expected value. So what's happening? A project manager is creating a schedule. There was a similar project which was closed because it was not delivering the expected value. The project manager is concerned about this project's performance and wants to ensure the success of this project, naturally. Right? Everybody should want that. What is the best course of action for the project manager? So in these given circumstances or given information, what is the best course of action for us? Add more resources to the project. Okay, there's nothing in the question that is telling me that I don't have money. Okay, but also there's nothing in the question that is telling me that adding the more resources would help me in expected value or would help improvement in performance. Right? Adding resources just does not help in performance. It might or might not. So I'll just park it because I'm not sure whether it will help or it will not help. If I was sure that it will not help, I would eliminate it. If I was sure that it will help, I'll park it. If I'm doubtful that it might help, I'll still park it because I don't know what other options could be. Right? So in your exam, always compare the options, eliminate only when you're absolutely sure that this is not going to help. Because they are talking about best course of action. This could be the best if all the other three options are worse. Right? It is very much possible. So next, review lessons learned from the previous project. What should I do if I want to ensure the success of the project? I would review the lessons learned. I would learn some lessons about it. It might help. Okay, so now I have two options. Adding more resources to the project where I am doubtful. Okay, reviewing lessons learned from previous project where I am sure that it will help, but I don't know how much it will help. Okay, but I'm sure that it will help. So I have a better choice. Hence, I will eliminate A. Then I go to C. Convince the sponsor to withdraw from the project. Okay, just because the previous project was not successful, should I convince the sponsor to withdraw from the project? No, I'm a project manager. I should believe that I will be able to make it successful unless and until my analysis says that it is not feasible. Okay, so there has to be something in the question telling me that it is not feasible. Only then I would try this. D. Purchase insurance coverage to protect against the risk. Okay, we don't know whether this will help or not. Right? It is similar to A. Adding more resources to the project, not sure. Generally, it might help, but I don't know what work this is, what kind of work would happen. I also don't know whether insurance coverage would help. I don't know what was the reason that the earlier period failed. I know that it was not delivering expected value, but I don't know why it was not delivering expected value. So if I review the lessons learned, I'll come to know about it. Okay, hence this option is much better than any action that we are taking without justification. Okay, so this is where our mindset of taking action only when it is justified comes into picture. Okay, this is where we are reviewing something. Okay, here we are taking a decision. Let us add more resource. We are adding some money to it. Okay, so this decision must be justified. Convince the sponsor to withdraw from the project. Again, I'm taking a decision to do something. It must be justified. Purchasing insurance, adding cost, taking a decision must be justified. Right? None of these are justified from the option, information given in the question. So we will try to review, understand what happened in the previous project, and then we will try to respond for it. Any question in this? I could see all of you were correct. All right, let's move ahead.
In terms of risk response, where it will come? Will it come into mitigation?
Good question. So, which response is this?
Mitigate.
Everybody else, do you agree? Is it avoid? No, right? So we are not avoiding it. Is it escalate?
No.
We tried it here, but it was not fruitful. So this is also not escalate. Is it transfer? Are we transferring it to somebody else? No. So 3 is very clearly no. Right? What else do we have? We have mitigate and we have accept. Accept also it is not. Hence it is mitigate. Right? This is the reason why I always say try to eliminate. Okay, eliminating is always easy. rather than trying to figure out what would be the correct answer. Okay, if I sit and try to figure out correct answer, I would come to know, just like there was one answer and a lot of answer in the chat box. I would come to know, but it will take time. But eliminating is easier. I know for sure that it is not other four, hence it must be mitigated. Perfect. Let's move to the next question. All right, so let's discuss this. While installing a newly developed software application as a part of the project for a government agency, the project manager has been informed about an anticipated regulation change regarding security features on all software applications involving money transactions. So what is happening? The project manager was working on the installation of newly developed software application, and he or she was informed about an anticipated regulation change. So there may be a regulation change regarding security features on all the software applications involving money transaction. So what the government is doing? Government is trying to change the regulation to bring in some security features which will be applicable on all the software applications. Now, this new feature could be a great source of revenue for the project manager's organization. Right? So the project manager thinks that if we could build this security feature, it will be a great source of revenue because this regulation is about to change and I have received this information. So this is a positive risk called opportunity. Right? Very important for us to understand that risk not always is negative. It's not always a threat. It can sometimes be opportunity also. Right? So let us look at it. Ask the product owner to add this new security feature in the product backlog. Okay, so you know that they would change it. Okay, there is a chance. It's an anticipated regulation change. So there's a chance that it might happen. Just based on the chance, you would not ask the product owner to add. Okay, first thing. Second thing, this security feature is not applicable to the software application that we are developing, but on all the software application that involves money transaction. Okay, so it is an opportunity not for the project, but for the organization. Okay, hence there's no reason why we should add it into the product backlog. Eliminate it. Organize a meeting with current stakeholders to discuss the opportunity. Again, if you look at this, and this is what the question is testing us, right? Did we understand what the opportunity is? Okay, the opportunity is on all the software application, which will be a great source of revenue for the organization. So it is not saying that it is specific to this project. And what you're doing is you're organizing a meeting with current stakeholders to discuss the opportunity. Okay, might not be very useful, but revenue to my project could also be there, and it could also be for all the other software applications. So this could help, but doesn't look like the correct option because we are talking about an opportunity for the organization, okay, which will be applicable for all the software application. And we are calling our current stakeholders in this project to discuss the opportunity. Okay, so there is some mismatch. Okay, we are talking about opportunity for the organization and calling stakeholders for this project. So there's some mismatch. Hence, I am a little bit wary about this option, whether this could be correct or not. We go to C. Inform the sponsor about the opportunity and continue working on the project. Okay, now this also looks good, right? Why is this good? Because this is an opportunity that would help improve the revenue of my organization. Revenue generation is not my responsibility as a project manager. So I may not be able to take that decision. So if this risk, which is a positive risk and opportunity, is something that I have identified, I should escalate. Okay, so out of 180 questions, okay, probably in 179 questions you would not escalate, but there will be one question where you would need to escalate. Okay, and that escalation should be justified, and it is justified here. It is applicable to all software, it is applicable to the organization, and it is a source of revenue for me. Okay, so the chances that it is an opportunity where my authority is less is high. Okay, so this also looks like a correct option. I'll park it, and then I'll move to D. Keep working on the current product installation and finish it on time. Okay, so this is a good information, but it has nothing to do with the information given in the question. So I can eliminate this. Now the question is whether B or C is correct. Okay, B is where the opportunity given in the question is for the whole organization, and I'm calling only my stakeholders. C is where the opportunity is with the organization, I'm informing it to the sponsor, and I'm continuing my work. Okay, now because it is applicable to organization, I don't have to spend a lot of time into that. It is beyond my authority. It is for revenue generation. People who are responsible for revenue generation, they should do it. My job as a project manager is to inform them and tell them that this is the opportunity. Okay, please assign somebody who can take care of it. If you get involved in that, okay, then who will do the project work? Right? So should you discuss the opportunity? Answer is no. Because this opportunity is about revenue generation. Okay, the correct responsible people should do that. My job is to inform the sponsor. If it was escalate the sponsor, inform the sales team, inform the product team, inform the business team, in your company, all of them are correct. Right? Because it is not related to my thing. If it was about delivering the value that we have planned, then it is my responsibility. Right? The value, the benefit that we have planned for the project, delivering that is my responsibility. Generating revenue is not. Okay. If I see the opportunity, I tell my team members that yes, there is an opportunity. That is my job. I'm done with my job. Right? And then I'll continue working on the project. Okay. So this is the information that I wanted to give you, that there are two things. Okay. Because we are talking about organizing a meeting or facilitating a meeting with the current stakeholders does not make all the options correct. Okay. PMI would always be looking at the questions on which people are answering correctly. So they would always be modifying the question. Okay. So we don't have to follow it as a rule that the minute we say that meeting with current stakeholders and make it a correct option and go ahead. Don't be under that bias is what I'm saying. Okay. Be with an answer the question or choose the option with an open mind. Right? Could this be correct in this case? Right? Could informing to the sponsor be correct in this case? Right? If that's the case, then we'll do it. Okay. So if you are that critical, you will be able to solve the difficult questions also in the exam. Is it clear, the explanation? Because I could see that almost everyone answered B. Right? So be a little bit aware. Okay. It will not happen every time, but it will definitely happen in the difficult questions. Let's move to the last question.
Amit, can I have one question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, does it make sense before escalate? Can we have a discussion with the stakeholders regarding this opportunity?
See, the reason why this is wrong is because it is current stakeholders. Okay, and the benefit is for the entire organization. Okay, not only for your project. Then why would you spend your time in discussing with the current stakeholders to discuss the opportunity? If it was a kind of benefit, let's say in terms of increasing the speed of your work, you could do the project faster. or you could save some cost in your project, then yes, definitely we should do that. Okay, but the opportunity is a great source of revenue for my organization. Okay, revenue generation is not project manager's responsibility. My responsibility is to save cost. My responsibility is to deliver value. My responsibility is to deliver on time. Right? That all things, everything that I have planned, I can do. Everything that I have committed, I will do it. If I see an opportunity, I will not ignore it. I will inform it to the right person and I'll continue my work. Right? So if I have to answer your question, in this case, no. But if you see any opportunity which is for your project, definitely yes. This would be your first choice that you must discuss among the stakeholders because it is for my project. But if it is for organization and if it is for revenue generation, then I don't need to get it.
Okay, thanks.
Right?
Thanks.
So this is how your escalate response questions will be there. See, it is also a valid response. So there has to be one question probably, right? So they may ask you such question also. Chances are less, but it can be there. Last question of the day. All right, let's discuss. The team members in a construction project have identified a risk of potential budget overruns due to price increases in building materials. Because there's a construction project, risk is that there could be a potential budget overruns because the building materials price might increase. They're not sure of the exact increase and have forecasted based on the historical data available. So the team thought, okay, there's a historical data available of increase in the prices. So we believe that there is a chance that this building material price might also increase in the project, which could create a risk to our budget in the project. So what would be the best response from the project manager? What would we do? And if the team has identified this as a risk, we'll plan a response for that. Right? So what will we do? Now, very quickly, which stage is this or which process group activity we are talking about here? Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, or closing? I can see planning, initiation, executing. Okay. See, it is very important to understand that as well because that helps you in thinking. Okay. When you understand which activity this is, then it helps you in thinking. See, stages could be different. Okay. It could be that you are constructing the building. Okay. That does not mean that every activity that you will do will be an execution activity. Just because you are constructing the building, majority of work could be execution activity, but you may be identifying some risk also. You may be identifying some stakeholders also. You may be identifying some new requirements also, right? So even though in your project, majority of work is happening in execution, you may still be doing some planning activity. Okay, and identifying the risk, planning a response for it is a planning activity, irrespective of when it is happening. Even if it is happening at the end of my project, almost towards the end, it is still my planning activity. Why? Because I'm identifying a risk and I'm planning a response. Right? So it is my planning activity. I'm not doing the work. I'm not checking my work. I'm not closing the project for sure. And I'm not starting my project also. Right? So it is my planning activity. Very important to understand because this will help you in thinking what could be the correct answer. Right? Let us go to A. Using less expensive building materials to stay within the budget. Okay, so I'm planning for doing the work. I realize that the materials price might increase. So I'm saying, okay, let us use less expensive building materials. Does not look aligned. Okay, why should I go for less expensive? And how would it help? How would it impact my quality? Okay, so this is an action which is not justified. Okay, just because there's a chance that price will increase, I'm saying I will use less expensive building material. What if the price of this also increase? Okay, so risk is not whether it is an expensive material or a cheap material. The risk is that the price might increase. Its price might increase for less expensive also. The only thing that would happen is in your budget, instead of using $1,000, you would use $800. Right? That is the only thing that will happen with this action. But that risk still stays. Right? So you're planning for the budget of $800. Your plan might also get over budget. Your project might also get over budget. You're planning for $1,000, that might also get over budget. So risk still stays, even if I go for less expensive building material. So this is not a response. Eliminate. Look at B. Negotiating with suppliers to lock in prices ahead of time. Okay, looks quite natural and logical, right? Even if I don't know about risk, even if I don't know about project management, I would still be inclined to do this. If somebody tells me that your price might increase, I would try to lock in. Right? Whatever that price is. Okay. If I try to lock in, my supplier also knows that the price might increase. So instead of $800, they may fix it on $900. And I would also be inclined to fix it because I don't know whether it will go to 1,000, go to 1,200. I need certainty in my project. I want to reduce the uncertainties. Okay, so even if it is at $100 extra, I would try to lock it in. And supplier would also try to lock it in. So it is a win-win for both of us. Right? It looks logical. Let's keep it. C. Accepting that the risk may occur, keep a contingency reserve. Okay. Increase in price is not a low priority risk. We have seen the historical data. They are concerned about it, and they are saying it might impact the project budget. So there's nothing in the information that is saying us there is a low priority risk. Okay. Hence, just what contingency reserve would we keep here? And we need to understand about it, right? Hence, this is eliminated. Go for accepting the risk and contingency reserve only if the question very clearly tells you that it is a low priority risk, because it is a decision that you are taking. It is an action that you are taking, right? Which is a very specific action for a very specific condition. That specific condition must be met, similar to escalate. It is a specific action for a specific condition that it is beyond my authority. So I need that information. I need that clarity that yes, it is beyond my authority, only then I will escalate. Similar to accept, right? I need a clarity that yes, it is a low priority, only then I will take action. Otherwise, I will not. Hence, I am eliminating this. Right? Purchasing insurance coverage to protect against the risk. Again, specific condition, specific action for the specific condition. Right? If somebody is willing to take it, then I will do it. Otherwise, what is this? How do I transfer the risk? Okay, just by insurance coverage, how is it going to help it? What would that insurance be about? Okay, not a lot of information available, hence we can eliminate this. B is correct. Clear, everyone?
Hello. Hello, Mr. Anil. Hello.
I can hear you. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I have a concern about the answer
Yes,
because
please.
of the situation I have every day in my project. And
Your voice is not very clear.
yes, I say are you listening? Maybe my earpiece has an issue. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, please. Any other question? Anyone?
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Are you getting me? Is better now?
Yeah, much better.
Yes. I say I have a concern with the answer B, and the concern is that's the situation I live in my project every day.
Yeah.
And even if you negotiate and lock the price with the suppliers, most often most often when we are faced with this situation, the suppliers refuse that they won't work again except we renegotiate the price.
You'll have to do a
And
contract.
that's what.
I understood.
Yes, we have a contract. We have a contract with them. We have a contract with them. Most often we do what we do like an annual agreement. Yes, maybe the annual agreement is like a locked price. But in case there is a significant change in price, most of them will refuse to take any site.
What's happening there in that case is either they are requesting, okay, or they are bullying you. Right? They are requesting. What I'm saying is, what's happening with you in your real life scenario is that even when you have a contract, okay, and they are refusing to give you on that price, okay, first of all, it is not a part of, it is a part of illegal thing, right? So you have to go to the legal department and take that discussion. The reason you cannot do it is because of two reasons, okay? The supplier is either trying to request you for price increase because they are saying that the price increased so much that the locked in price is incurring them a lot of loss, right? So,
exactly,
right, you locked in the price for, let's say, for example, 5% increase, but the price increased 25%. Okay, it is a definite loss for them. So they are saying that yes, we did this case, but it is what is happening in the environment or what is happening in the business environment is that the price increased 25%, and this is something that they did not anticipate. So either they are requesting you to increase the price because they got hit a lot, or they are trying to bully you because they are the only supplier with which you are working. And they know that. And they know that you don't work with any other supplier or any other supplier is not there in the market. So they are trying to bully you. That even if it is a 7% or 8% increase, they are saying, okay, please increase the price because there's a huge increase. That could be the only two reasons. As a project manager, what you need to do is you need to escalate this to your procurement manager, to your sponsor. You need to tell them that this is the case, that is what is happening. So it becomes a strategic decision.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and that because it is a strategic decision, that is why I choose C, concerning given that contingency is managed by it's under a strategic decision, because most often when we are faced with that, we are not the ones who decide what has to be done. It is based on the contingency that the project director.
Contingency reserve is something that you keep for a low priority risk.
Okay.
Okay. If there is a less chance, if there is hardly any chance, there is no chance that it will happen. Okay, 1%, 0.5% chance that it might happen.
Yes.
So you always keep a contingency reserve for low priority risk, less chance of happening and less impact also. Here it is not a less impact or less chance of happening, right? And hence we are not selecting this.
Okay. Understood.
So see, what you're saying is absolutely correct, and I understand this practical scenario. I have also faced this, and many of us face it. Okay, but the choice here is that what is the best response among the four choices, right? So as of now, we should try this. Right, this would help us. While I'm planning, we will try to lock in. After that, okay, if you have the anticipation that my supplier would try to request or bully me for price increase if it goes more than that, then you can build a contract in the beginning itself saying that no other prices would be entertained. You can be safe around that. But if you have only one supplier, you are never safe. Okay, they would always try to get some more money because they know that they are the only one. Okay, so these things would happen, and then as I said, it becomes a strategic decision. Whether you want to work with them, whether you want to take them to court, whether you want to take a legal action on them, it becomes a strategic decision for the organization. Okay, so what is this? Is it avoid or is it mitigate?
Mitigate.
Negotiating with the suppliers to lock in the prices ahead of time. Yes, please. Are you changing the plan or are you trying to mitigate things? You are avoiding the risk completely. It is not mitigating. It is not reducing the probability that the risk would happen. There's no risk. Once you have locked in the price, that's the price you're going to pay. Think about the procurement management chapter. Okay, so instead of having a rate contract, instead of having a time and material type of contract, you are having a fixed price contract here. Right? So the price is fixed. There's absolutely no risk. Even if the price increases, your budget will not get impacted. Okay, what would get impacted is the supplier's margin. It is no risk for you in this circumstances. So what you have done is you have avoided the risk. Is it clear why it is not mitigate? We have changed the plan itself. We, instead of having a fixed price, instead of having a time and material contract, we are having a fixed price contract. We are saying that we will fix the price itself.
Right.
Right. Perfect.
Amit, one general question.
Yes, please.
Generally, how does you calculate the contingency reserve? What percentage we should consider in terms of total budget cost?
Right. Contingency reserve and management reserve both, okay, needs to be calculated based on the historical data, if it is available, or based on our analysis. Okay. Now, for contingency reserve, we don't plan response. We don't decide, okay, this is something that we will do, this is something we'll do. What we do is we just do the analysis, right? So we try to understand the probability and we try to understand the impact. And we realize that probability is also less, impact is also less. And that's why we selected to have a contingency reserve, right? So let us say, for example, your probability was somewhere around 5%. Okay, these are all our estimate, right? These are all our understanding based on previous project, understanding based on the work that we do, understanding based on what the team thinks about the risk, right? So we are either taking collective decision or we are looking at previous project and then taking decision. But whatever our analysis tells us, it says that the chance is only 5% that it will happen. And if it happens, the impact would be $1,000. Right? So what you come to know here is your expected monetary value of this particular risk. Right? Specific to accept. You come to know 5% of $1,000. So 5% of $1,000 is $50. Right? So you will keep $50 as a contingency reserve because that is your expected monetary value of this risk. For high priority risk, the value itself would be so high that you cannot keep it in your contingency reserve. Hence, you will have to plan for it. You will have to try to avoid it. You will have to try to mitigate it. You will have to try to escalate or share it with somebody else or transfer it to somebody else. Right? You will have to do it because the value would be huge. What would happen there is, let's say, for example, the probability will be 50% and the impact would be $10,000. Right? So you cannot keep $5,000 as your contingency reserve. That's a huge amount. Who would give you that amount? Nobody will give that. Right? Hence, for these $5,000, $10,000 kind of risks, we will try to plan a response. Okay. But if it is $50, $10, $5 here and there, we would say, okay, let us keep this money in our contingency reserve. Right? So to answer your question, in one sentence, you would try to understand the probability, you try to understand the impact, either through historical information or through discussion with the team, and multiply the probability into impact and keep that money as a contingency reserve.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
What you're not doing is you're not planning any response for it. You're saying that when the risk will happen, then I will use this money. Yes, Kirti, please go ahead.
Amit, whenever we plan for contingency reserve, does that mean that we are accepting the risk? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
We are accepting it and we are saying we will not do anything about it. Let it happen. When it happens, I will use some money to resolve the issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other question, anyone? I hope this session was helpful to you.
Yes.
Has it given a little bit more clarity about risk responses?
Thank you very much, Amit. I think it was great.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. John. And thank you everyone for joining in. And then the recording of this session will be uploaded tomorrow morning, India time, on YouTube. And then I'll see you next Monday. In between also, if you want me to cover anything specific in terms of concepts that is not helping you or you are confused with, just let me know. This was also based on someone's feedback. So give me a feedback. I'll try to build a session around it. All right. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amit.